The people who stand out the most are often the ones who say the least, but everything about them speaks. Have you ever been around someone who didn't try to be impressive, but you couldn't stop paying attention to them? That's silent attraction. They don't chase validation. They don't show off. Yet somehow, their presence is enough. It's not magic. It's not luck. It's daily habits, social habits that most people never even think about. This video will show you how to build those habits. You'll learn how to carry yourself without trying too hard, how to be calm, focused, and confident without saying much, and how to earn respect without asking for it. If you're tired of trying to be liked or always explaining yourself, you're in the right place. You're about to learn how to become someone people feel drawn to without even needing to speak. Watch this until the end. This can quietly change your life. Chapter 1. Build quiet habits that make you unshakably confident inside. Confidence is not something you shout about. It's something you quietly build within yourself, day by day. You can't fake it. You can't pretend it. You earn it through habits that no one sees, and that's what makes it real. When you walk into a room with quiet assurance, people feel it before you even speak. They can't always explain it, but they sense something grounded, something strong. That strength comes from what you've built in silence, your habits, your discipline, your standards. The first step is understanding that real confidence doesn't come from being loud or from being the center of attention. It comes from being certain about who you are and what you stand for. Most people try to impress others before they've impressed themselves, but true confidence starts when you begin keeping promises to yourself. When you say you'll wake up early, and you do. When you say you'll exercise and you follow through, when you say you'll stay focused and you keep your word, that's when your self-respect starts to grow. And self-respect is the root of confidence. Quiet habits are the small, consistent actions that build that self-respect. They don't need an audience. They don't need validation. They just need your commitment. Confidence isn't something you put on like a jacket. It's built into your character. Every time you follow through on what you said you'd do, you create a little more strength inside. That strength becomes visible in how you move, how you speak, and how you carry yourself. Start by setting 1 or 2 simple, non-negotiable habits. Maybe it's waking up at a specific time. Maybe it's spending 20 minutes reading something that nourishes your mind. Maybe it's journaling every night about what you learned that day. These habits don't need to be complicated. In fact, simplicity is the secret. The goal is consistency, not perfection. When you start small and stay consistent, you develop quiet confidence, the kind that doesn't need approval. Here's what happens when you build quiet habits. Your mind becomes more disciplined. You stop reacting to everything around you. You start thinking before you speak. You stop explaining yourself to everyone. You don't feel the need to convince people to like you. You become calm. You start feeling in control. That's when your presence begins to change. People can tell when someone is grounded. They sense it through your body language, through your tone, through your calm energy. Think about this when you're around someone who's peaceful, confident, and secure. You feel it. You don't see them trying to prove anything. They're not competing for attention. They just are. That's the power of being silently attractive. You attract others by being someone they feel safe and inspired around. You don't pull people in with noise, you pull them in with depth. To build that kind of quiet confidence, You must get comfortable with solitude. You must spend time alone. That's where your habits grow roots. When you're alone, you hear your real thoughts. You face your fears, your doubts, your weaknesses. It's not always comfortable, but it's real. And that honesty with yourself builds emotional strength. You can't be silently attractive if your mind is filled with noise. So, spend time every day in stillness. It could be 10 minutes of reflection, a walk without your phone, or sitting quietly in your room thinking about how you handled your day. Every strong, grounded person has mastered this skill, self-awareness. They know their triggers, they know their weaknesses, they know what drains their energy and what builds it. They adjust accordingly. You can't control the world, but you can control how you respond to it. When you respond calmly, you're powerful. When you overreact, you lose control. Quiet habits teach you control. Let's talk about one of the most powerful quiet habits, discipline. Discipline is not punishment, it's respect for your own future. When you do what needs to be done, even when you don't feel like it, you're training yourself to be dependable. That dependability creates confidence. Most people let their emotions decide their actions. You want to be different. You want your principles to decide your actions. That's how you gain self-trust. And self-trust is magnetic. People can sense when someone truly trusts themselves. Another habit that builds silent confidence is maintaining good posture and grooming. It's not about vanity, it's about self-respect. When you take care of yourself, you send a message to your own mind. I matter. My life matters. My presence matters. Clean clothes, a neat appearance, proper hygiene, and confident body language, they all reinforce your self-image. You start seeing yourself as someone worth respecting, and others follow that lead. Next, focus on your words. Confident people speak clearly, not loudly. They don't rush their words. They don't speak to fill silence. They speak when they have something meaningful to say. You can train yourself to pause before speaking, to think about your words, to remove the habit of explaining yourself too much. People respect those who respect silence. When you're not afraid of quiet, you show emotional strength. You show that you don't need to dominate the room, you already own your space. Another essential habit is preparation. Confident people prepare quietly. They study, they learn, they plan. They don't talk about their goals, they work on them. Every small act of preparation builds a sense of control. When you prepare, you're less anxious, more ready, and more centered. Confidence isn't luck, it's preparation meeting opportunity. You also need to practice gratitude daily. Gratitude grounds you. It keeps you aware of what's good, even when things aren't perfect. Each night, think about 3 things you're grateful for. Gratitude softens arrogance and builds humility. And humility is one of the most attractive qualities in any person. People are drawn to those who are humble but strong, kind but firm, quiet but powerful. Another quiet habit worth developing is physical exercise. Not just for looks, but for energy, discipline, and mental clarity. Moving your body every day changes your mood, sharpens your focus, and increases your confidence. You don't need to announce your workouts or post them online. The goal isn't to impress, it's to progress. Each workout, each drop of sweat, builds silent pride. Now, confidence also grows when you stop comparing yourself to others. Comparison weakens your spirit. It makes you forget your own growth. You are not here to compete with anyone. You are here to improve yourself. Every time you focus on your journey instead of someone else's, you regain power. Quiet confidence comes from knowing you're working on yourself, not to outshine others, but to outgrow your past self. Pay attention to how you handle mistakes. Everyone fails. Everyone falls short. But confident people don't beat themselves up for it. They learn. They adjust. They keep going. They don't quit. Every time you handle failure with grace, you build inner strength. That's what people respect, not perfection, but progress. And finally, be consistent. Consistency is what separates those who talk from those who grow. Quiet habits mean nothing if you only do them when you feel like it. You have to show up even on hard days. Because that's when character is built. The more you do the right thing when no one is watching, the more unshakable you become. When you build quiet habits, self-discipline, awareness, gratitude, grooming, exercise, focus, you stop needing to prove your worth. You start living from a place of calm power. People will notice your energy without you saying a word. They'll respect you without you asking for it. You'll walk differently. You'll speak differently. You'll think differently. And that's when you become silently attractive, not because of what you say, but because of what you've become. Confidence is not built overnight. It's built moment by moment, habit by habit, decision by decision. You don't need to rush it. You just need to start. Each quiet habit is a seed. If you nurture it daily with discipline, patience, and faith, it grows into something strong, stable, and deeply attractive. So today, make a decision. Start small. Build one quiet habit that strengthens your confidence from within. Don't talk about it. Don't announce it. Just do it. And in time, you'll see that the loudest confidence is the one that doesn't need to speak at all. Chapter 2. Master stillness, so your calm energy draws real attention. Stillness is one of the rarest powers in the world today. Most people live in constant motion, scrolling, rushing, reacting, chasing, talking. They fill their days with noise because silence feels uncomfortable. But real strength begins when you no longer need that noise to feel alive. When your energy becomes calm, people notice. They can't explain it, but they feel something steady about you, something grounded. That stillness becomes magnetic because it's rare. To master stillness, you first have to understand that it isn't about doing nothing. It's about doing everything with control. Stillness is not laziness, and it's not indifference. It's the ability to stay centered while the world moves around you. It's when your emotions stop controlling your actions. It's when you can listen, observe, and respond instead of reacting. This kind of calm energy draws real attention because it shows maturity and control. When you walk into a room full of noise, the calmest person always stands out. They don't need to say much. Their eyes are steady, their movements measured, their words few but meaningful. That presence commands respect. Stillness doesn't ask for attention, it earns it. People are drawn to calm energy because it gives them something they lack. It gives them peace. When others are anxious or restless, your stillness reminds them what control looks like. To reach that level, start by observing your inner world. Most people live unaware of their thoughts. Their minds race from one worry to another. They replay conversations, imagine problems, and drain their energy on things they can't change. Stillness begins when you take control of your attention. You choose where your mind goes. You stop letting your thoughts run wild. Spend a few minutes each day simply observing your breathing, your emotions, your reactions. You'll notice how much noise you carry. That awareness is the first step toward peace. Calm energy is built through awareness and practice. You have to train your mind to slow down. The next time someone upsets you, notice your urge to react immediately. Pause. Take a breath. Feel your heart rate. When you slow down your response, you take back power. Most people waste their confidence by reacting too quickly. They say things they don't mean, or they let emotions decide for them. Stillness teaches you to wait until you can act with clarity. When you stay calm under pressure, people begin to trust your judgment. They know you don't act out of emotion. They sense that your words carry thought and your actions carry purpose. That's how real influence is built. Leadership doesn't come from volume or aggression. It comes from calm control. People follow those who stay steady when everyone else loses direction. Stillness also changes how you connect with others. When you are calm, you make people feel seen and heard. You listen without rushing to respond. You don't interrupt. You don't dominate conversations. You create space for others to speak. That space builds trust. Most people are so used to being ignored that they notice instantly when someone truly listens. Your calm presence makes them feel safe to open up. That's how you connect deeply without trying to impress. Mastering stillness also helps you make better decisions. A restless mind jumps from one idea to another. It reacts to opinions, trends, and emotions. But a calm mind sees clearly. It separates what's important from what's not. When you are still, you don't make choices from fear or impatience. You think, you reflect, you wait for the right move. And because you act from clarity, your choices lead to better outcomes. To practice stillness, you have to reduce the noise around you. Spend some time each day without your phone, without music, without distraction. Sit quietly, walk in silence, breathe deeply. Feel your body. At first, it may feel strange. You may feel bored or restless. That's normal. But if you stay with it, you'll begin to feel a sense of peace that no entertainment can give you. That peace becomes your power. Stillness also means not explaining yourself all the time. You don't need to justify your choices to everyone. When you're calm and sure of your values, you stop arguing to be understood. You start living in a way that speaks for itself. People who are loud about their worth often doubt it inside. People who are silent about their worth already know it. That's the quiet confidence that stillness builds. Your body language should reflect that calm. Slow down your movements. Keep your shoulders relaxed. Maintain steady eye contact. Speak slowly and clearly. These small physical habits send strong signals. They show that you are in control of yourself. When others rush, stumble, or overreact, your calm pace becomes a quiet statement of strength. To master stillness, learn to detach from what you can't control. You can't control people's opinions. You can't control every outcome. You can't control how others behave. But you can control how you respond. The moment you stop fighting for control over everything, your energy changes. You become lighter. You stop wasting energy on things that drain you. That freedom gives you mental clarity. Stillness also helps you protect your energy. Every day, people will try to pull you into their chaos. They'll complain, gossip, argue, or demand your attention. If you let yourself get involved in every noise, you'll lose your peace. Calm people know how to stay centered even in chaos. They listen, but they don't absorb. They care, but they don't carry. They know how to walk away when something threatens their peace. That ability makes you silently powerful because you're no longer controlled by outside forces. Being still doesn't mean being emotionless. It means feeling deeply without losing balance. You can be passionate and peaceful at the same time. The difference is control. When you master stillness, your emotions serve you instead of ruling you. Anger becomes strength. Sadness becomes wisdom. Fear becomes awareness. Every emotion turns into something useful because you're not reacting, you're reflecting. You can build stillness through structure, create routines that give your mind order. Wake up at the same time each day. Eat mindfully. Plan your time. When your environment is organized, your mind becomes calmer. Clutter, disorganization, and unpredictability create stress. Order gives peace. And when you live with order, you radiate steadiness that others feel. Stillness also comes from knowing your values. When you know what you stand for, you stop chasing approval. You stop being pulled in every direction. You stop trying to please everyone. That certainty feels calm because you're no longer confused. You know who you are and where you're going. People are naturally drawn to those who know their direction. It makes them feel safe to follow your lead. Remember that stillness takes practice. You'll lose it sometimes. You'll react. You'll get frustrated. You'll speak too quickly. That's okay. Awareness is the key. Each time you catch yourself losing calm, bring your attention back. Breathe. Reset. The goal is progress, not perfection. Over time, your recovery becomes faster. You stay composed longer. Your energy grows steadier. When you master stillness, your presence becomes powerful even in silence. You walk into a room and people sense something about you. They may not know what it is, but they feel it. It's the strength of someone who doesn't need to prove anything. It's the peace of someone who trusts themselves. That kind of presence can't be bought, copied, or faked. It comes only from self-control and practice. Stillness also helps you enjoy life more. When you're calm, you notice details others miss. You taste your food, you hear the birds, you feel the air. You engage fully in the moment. That mindfulness brings satisfaction that constant stimulation can't provide. You stop rushing to the next thing. You start appreciating what's already in front of you. That quiet joy shows on your face and in your energy. It makes you glow without trying. When you become still, your relationships improve. You stop overreacting. You stop saying things you regret. You handle conflict maturely. You listen before responding. You let others express themselves fully. That emotional balance earns respect and admiration. People trust calm energy. They know they can rely on it. Stillness also builds resilience. When life becomes uncertain, calm people adapt faster. They don't panic. They don't crumble. They breathe, they think, and they move forward. That's what gives them long-term strength. Others may lose direction in chaos, but you remain steady. That steadiness makes you reliable in a world that often feels unstable. Every day, you can practice stillness in small ways. When you wake up, take a minute before checking your phone. Breathe and set your intention for the day. When someone irritates you, pause before responding. When things don't go as planned, Remind yourself that peace matters more than control. Each of these moments trains your mind to stay calm under pressure. Stillness is not the absence of movement, it's the mastery of movement. It's choosing how you move, how you speak, and how you feel. When you live from that space, you become quietly magnetic. People respect your calm because it's rare. They admire your composure because it's strong. You don't need to seek attention. Attention naturally finds you. In a world that celebrates noise, you become different by choosing peace. Stillness becomes your signature. You carry it into your work, your relationships, your conversations, your walk, and your silence. And as you continue to master it, you realize that calmness is not weakness, it's quiet power. It's the strength to stay centered when everything else tries to pull you away. That strength is what draws real attention. It's what makes you silently attractive. Chapter 3. Learn to express strength without showing off or seeking approval. Strength is one of those qualities people often misunderstand. Many think strength means showing dominance, proving power, or always having the last word. But real strength doesn't need to announce itself. It doesn't compete for validation. It simply exists, calm, clear, and steady. When you express strength without showing off, you communicate certainty. You tell the world, I know who I am, and I don't need to prove it. That kind of energy draws respect naturally, because it feels real. The quiet expression of strength begins with self-respect. When you respect yourself, you stop chasing approval. You stop needing others to notice your value. You no longer rely on compliments or recognition to feel good. You already know your worth, because you've seen what you've overcome. Real strength is born in moments no one sees. When you get up after failure, when you stay calm through criticism, when you keep going after rejection. That's where character is built. People who are truly strong live by their values, not by others' opinions. They don't change who they are to be liked. They make decisions that align with what's right, not what's easy. If you want to express strength quietly, learn to act from principle instead of emotion. Speak when something matters, and stay silent when it doesn't. Each time you choose dignity over ego, your strength deepens. You don't need to defend your worth when your actions already prove it. Strength also means knowing when not to fight. There's no power in arguing to win every discussion. You show real maturity when you walk away from conflict that serves no purpose. When someone tries to provoke you, staying composed says more than words ever could. It shows you're not controlled by pride. You're in control of yourself. Most people don't realize that walking away can be an act of courage, not weakness. It takes power to stay peaceful when chaos invites you in. You can see this difference everywhere. Loud strength demands attention. Quiet strength earns it. Loud strength pushes others down. Quiet strength lifts itself without comparison. Loud strength needs to be seen. Quiet strength is content being unseen. When you stop needing to prove anything, you step into a level of confidence that's unshakable. Developing this calm strength requires inner work. You must learn to understand your emotions rather than deny them. When you're angry, ask why. When you feel insecure, look at what triggered it. Strong people don't suppress feelings, they manage them. They process emotions privately, so they can respond wisely publicly. The more you know yourself, the harder it becomes for others to manipulate your peace. To express strength naturally, Pay attention to your reactions. When someone disagrees with you, notice whether you feel the urge to defend yourself instantly. That urge comes from ego. When you can pause, breathe, and respond thoughtfully, that's control. That's strength. The most powerful response is often calm honesty, not defense, not aggression. Just truth spoken with balance. You also express strength through consistency. When your actions match your words, people start to trust you. Strength is not a single act of bravery. It's the pattern of integrity repeated over time. If you say you'll do something, follow through. If you make a promise, keep it. When you live this way, people recognize your reliability without you needing to announce it. They see it in your track record. Another powerful form of strength is humility. Humility doesn't mean thinking less of yourself. It means knowing your value so clearly that you don't have to show it off. It's understanding that recognition doesn't define you. It's staying kind when you have the upper hand, and staying quiet when you could boast. People with humility command respect because their confidence doesn't come at the expense of others. Learn to separate confidence from arrogance. Confidence says, I'm capable. Arrogance says, I'm better. When you carry quiet confidence, others feel inspired, not intimidated. You don't make people small to feel big. You bring peace into every room you enter because your energy is steady and sure. That's the kind of strength that makes people want to follow you. Strength also shows in how you handle criticism. You can't control what people say, but you can control your response. When you're secure in who you are, you can listen without getting defensive. You can take feedback without losing self-worth. You can disagree without hostility. The more open you become to growth, the stronger your foundation gets. You start realizing that criticism doesn't define you, it refines you. Another way to express strength quietly is by mastering discipline. Discipline is proof of control. It's the ability to do what's right, even when you don't feel like it. The person who trains their body, manages their habits, and keeps their focus despite distractions has built real inner power. That kind of strength doesn't shout, it shows. People notice it in your consistency, in your posture, in the calm way you handle your life. Strength without showmanship also comes from treating others with respect. You can be firm without being rude. You can be confident without belittling. You can disagree without hostility. True power doesn't need to crush others. It uplifts through example. The person who can stay polite in the face of disrespect holds more control than the one who loses their temper. Every time you choose grace over pride, your quiet power grows. Pay attention to how you use your words. Strong people speak with purpose. They don't gossip, they don't exaggerate, and they don't speak to impress. They speak to express clarity. You can tell a person's strength by how they communicate under pressure. The one who remains calm, thoughtful, and direct is always more respected than the one who reacts with noise. Expressing strength silently also means being selective with your energy. You don't need to attend every argument you're invited to. You don't need to fix every misunderstanding. Sometimes silence is the loudest statement you can make. When you know your truth, you don't chase explanations, you live it. The peace that comes with that kind of restraint is powerful. It's the peace of knowing you no longer need approval to validate your identity. One of the strongest habits you can develop is emotional independence. Emotional independence means you no longer rely on others to determine how you feel about yourself. You appreciate compliments, but you don't depend on them. You hear criticism, but you don't crumble under it. You lead your emotions instead of following them. When you can do that,
No one has power over your mood, and that's where quiet confidence thrives. Real strength also shows in how you handle success. When things go well, stay grounded. When you receive praise, be thankful, but keep your humility. The people who stay centered through both failure and success are the ones who command lasting respect. They don't let praise inflate them, or criticism deflate them. They stay balanced. That balance is what others find attractive. It shows emotional maturity. To express quiet strength, you also need boundaries. Boundaries aren't walls, they're standards. They protect your time, energy, and peace. You don't have to raise your voice to set them. You simply say no when something doesn't serve your growth. You step away from relationships that drain you. You choose where to invest your attention. The stronger your boundaries, the calmer your life becomes. And the calmer your life becomes, the more confident your presence feels. Another form of strength is patience. Patience doesn't mean waiting passively. It means trusting your process. It's knowing that you don't need to rush to prove progress. You're building something deeper than short-term recognition. You're building character, resilience, and inner peace. When you're patient, you stop forcing outcomes. You allow time to do its work. That patience is attractive because it reflects maturity and trust in yourself. When you live this way, your energy changes. You stop chasing attention and start earning respect. You stop performing for approval and start living with purpose. People begin to notice how stable you are, how clear your energy feels, how peaceful your presence is. They can tell that your confidence comes from something solid, something internal, and that makes you magnetic. The truth is, strength doesn't need an audience. It shows itself naturally, through your discipline, your composure, your focus, your kindness, and your boundaries. The person who can stay centered in all conditions, who can express confidence without ego, who can lead without shouting, that person becomes unforgettable. You don't have to prove your strength to anyone. You just have to live it. Each day, show strength by being kind when it's easier to be bitter. Show strength by staying calm when others panic. Show strength by doing your work even when no one is watching. Show strength by being honest when dishonesty seems easier. Show strength by being true to yourself, even when the world pressures you to conform. In time, people will see it. They'll see that you're consistent, calm, and grounded. They'll sense your depth. They'll feel your steadiness. That's when you'll understand that true strength doesn't shout, it whispers. It's in your posture, your tone, your decisions, your self-control. It's in how you treat others when you could have taken advantage. It's in how you hold yourself when the spotlight isn't on you. You become silently powerful when you stop chasing recognition and start building respect. When you no longer need to prove anything, you become untouchable. Your presence speaks for itself. Your silence carries weight. And the beauty of this kind of strength is that it can't be faked, borrowed, or taught through words. It's earned through action, through patience, through discipline, and through the courage to stay grounded in who you are. That's the kind of strength that leaves a mark, not the loud, temporary kind that fades with attention, but the calm, timeless kind that commands it without ever asking.
Chapter 4. Keep your words few and your actions consistently meaningful. There's something powerful about a person who doesn't say much, but always follows through. When your words are few, people start paying attention to what you do. When your actions speak louder than your promises, your presence earns quiet respect. Most people talk about what they want to do. They make plans, big declarations, and long speeches about change, but few follow through.
The person who speaks less and acts more stands apart. It's not because they're mysterious, but because they're real. Keeping your words few doesn't mean being distant or cold. It means valuing your speech enough to make it count. Every time you say something, it should carry weight. Empty words are everywhere. Online, in conversations, in promises people never keep. But when your words match your actions, your integrity grows. People learn that when you speak, you mean it. They stop doubting you. They start trusting you. That kind of trust can't be forced. It's earned through consistency. When you talk too much about what you'll do, you trick your mind into believing you've already accomplished something. The satisfaction of saying it replaces the drive to actually do it. That's why silence is so effective. It keeps you hungry. It keeps your energy focused on results instead of approval. Every goal you share too early loses some of its power. You start performing for praise instead of progress. So learn to keep your goals private until they're achieved. The reward will feel stronger, and your credibility will speak for itself. Words are easy. Discipline is rare. Every strong person learns this truth early. The world is full of people with great intentions, but weak habits. They promise change, but don't commit to it. If you want to be different, build a life where your promises are small and your follow-through is big. When people realize you're serious about your word, your reputation begins to grow. You don't have to demand respect. Your consistency earns it quietly. The reason this principle works is because action creates proof. Anyone can talk about confidence, purpose, or growth, but action is the real evidence. You can't fake it. The more you act, the more certain you become of your ability. Each time you follow through, you remind yourself that you can depend on you. That's real confidence. Trusting yourself enough to do what you said you would. You can practice this in everyday moments. If you tell someone you'll meet them at a certain time, show up. If you say you'll start a new routine, stick to it. If you promise to finish something, complete it without excuses. Every small act of reliability builds a stronger version of you. These moments might seem small, but they shape your character. They form the foundation of self-respect. When your actions are consistently meaningful, you start living with purpose. You don't waste time on things that don't add value. You stop chasing approval and start creating impact. The more you do, the less you need to explain. People feel your commitment through your results. They see it in your discipline, in the way you move, in how you handle your life. Quiet achievers inspire because they represent something real in a world full of talkers. Keeping your words few also means learning to listen more. When you listen carefully, you learn faster. You notice details others miss. You understand people better. You gain clarity about situations before reacting. Listening gives you perspective, and perspective gives you wisdom. Wise people don't rush to speak because they understand the power of silence. They know when to stay quiet, when to respond, and when to walk away. There's something magnetic about restraint. When you don't rush to speak or explain yourself, people become curious. Your silence communicates composure. It shows you're not desperate for validation. You're not trying to fill the space. You're comfortable in it. That calm confidence makes your words more valuable because they come from thought, not impulse. To keep your actions meaningful, focus on quality, not quantity. Doing too many things without purpose spreads your energy thin. Meaningful action comes from clarity. Before you take on anything, ask yourself, Will this move me forward? Will this improve my life, or help someone else's? If the answer is no, let it go. Focus only on what truly matters. The more intentional your actions are, the more powerful your impact becomes. Being meaningful also means staying authentic. Don't act to impress, act to express your values. When your behavior aligns with your beliefs, you feel peace inside. You don't need to pretend. You don't need to explain your choices. People can see authenticity. It doesn't need decoration. When your life is consistent with your values, you become trustworthy without trying. Small, consistent actions matter more than grand gestures. Many people wait for the big opportunity to prove themselves, but real power comes from what you do daily. The way you treat people, the effort you give at work, the attention you give to your own growth. These are quiet actions that build strong results over time. Consistency beats talent, talk, and potential every single time. Part of keeping your words few is knowing when to say no. You don't have to agree to everything. You don't have to please everyone. Saying no when something doesn't serve your growth is an act of self-respect. You protect your time, your energy, and your focus. The fewer promises you make, the more power you have to keep them. That's how you stay dependable and free from burnout. Another key part of meaningful action is reflection. Take time each day to ask yourself if your actions align with your goals. Did you move closer to the person you want to become? Did you do something that mattered? Reflection keeps your progress honest. It reminds you that your time is limited and that every day should add value to your life. It's also important to remember that meaningful actions don't always get attention. Sometimes the best things you do happen quietly, helping someone without recognition, improving a skill no one sees, choosing discipline over comfort. These small private victories build inner strength. They remind you that your journey is not about applause but about evolution. Be careful not to confuse stillness with inaction. Speaking less doesn't mean doing less. It means doing better. When your mind is quiet, your focus sharpens. You stop wasting time explaining your dreams and start building them. The energy you once spent convincing people now goes into results, and those results do all the speaking you'll ever need. You can tell a lot about a person by how they handle promises. Some talk big, but deliver little. Others say nothing and over-deliver. The second group always wins. Why? Because reliability builds respect. You can't fake it. The people around you start to rely on you not because you talk big, but because you've proven yourself through consistent effort. Words can lose meaning when used carelessly. When you make them rare, they become valuable. Imagine someone who barely speaks, but when they do, everyone listens. That's not an accident. It's the result of credibility. People trust that their words carry substance. They don't need to fill space with talk. They fill it with presence. Keeping your words few also means controlling your emotions. When you speak impulsively, you often say things you later regret. Stillness in speech gives you power. It allows you to think before reacting, to choose your tone, and to respond with respect. Emotional control is one of the strongest forms of discipline. The person who can stay measured in chaos commands quiet authority. There's also strength in silence during disagreement. When someone tries to provoke you, silence can be your greatest answer. You don't always need to defend yourself. Sometimes your peace is your proof. Silence says you're too focused on growth, to argue over small things. You choose dignity over ego, progress over pride. Meaningful action requires patience. Real results take time. If you act today, you may not see progress tomorrow, but if you stay consistent, results will come. Quiet workers know this. They don't chase quick wins. They build solid foundations. They trust the process. When others quit because results aren't instant, the quiet ones keep going. That patience separates achievers from dreamers. Your life will change the moment you care more about progress than presentation. When you stop seeking credit and start seeking growth, your energy transforms. People will notice your results without you needing to announce them. They'll respect the person who delivers instead of promises. They'll feel your confidence, not in your words, but in your calm assurance. When you live by this principle, you become dependable, stable, and trustworthy. People come to rely on your consistency. They know that when you commit, you deliver. They stop listening to the loud ones and start watching you. That's when you realize that leadership isn't about talking, it's about doing. Keeping your words few doesn't mean silencing your voice forever. It means speaking when it matters and doing when it counts. It's about quality over quantity. It's about depth over noise. It's about letting your integrity speak through your results. Your daily actions shape how the world sees you. But more importantly, they shape how you see yourself. Each day that you do what you said you'd do, you strengthen your self-belief. You build momentum. You create a quiet pride that doesn't need an audience. And once you have that, no one can take it away. So choose your words carefully and let your actions tell the rest of the story. Promise less, deliver more. Speak thoughtfully, act boldly. Be the person whose consistency outshines every speech, whose reliability earns every ounce of respect. Because in the end words fade, but actions stay. The world forgets what you said, but it always remembers what you did.
Chapter 5. Train your mind to stay unbothered by noise and judgment. Peace of mind is one of the greatest strengths a person can develop. In a world full of opinions, criticism, and distractions, the ability to remain calm and focused is rare. Most people are easily influenced by what others say or think. They spend their energy reacting to noise, defending themselves, and seeking approval. But those who train their minds to stay unbothered by noise and judgment live differently. They move with quiet focus. They don't waste time trying to please or prove. They stay centered, and that steadiness becomes their superpower. Training your mind to stay unbothered doesn't mean becoming careless or emotionless. It means protecting your peace and choosing where your energy goes. You can't control how people see you, but you can control how you see yourself. Once you understand that difference, life becomes lighter. Every opinion doesn't need your attention. Every comment doesn't deserve your reaction. Not everything is worth your emotional investment. The first step to becoming unbothered is self-awareness. You must know your triggers. What kind of comments or situations easily disturb your peace? Maybe it's when someone criticizes your work, questions your choices, or misunderstands your intentions. Notice what makes you defensive or anxious. When you recognize these moments, you gain the power to pause instead of react. Self-awareness is the foundation of emotional control. Without it, you'll keep falling into the same emotional traps. Once you recognize your triggers, learn to breathe before responding. That short pause changes everything. Most people react instantly when they feel judged or attacked.
They argue, explain or lash out, which only gives more power to the noise. But when you pause, you take your power back. You show yourself that you control your emotions, not the other way around. The pause gives your mind a chance to think clearly. It separates reaction from response. Being unbothered also means learning to accept that not everyone will like you, and that's okay. The need for universal approval is a trap. The more you try to please everyone, the more you lose yourself. You start adjusting your behavior to fit what others expect. But when you live for approval, you hand control of your happiness to others. Freedom begins when you stop chasing validation. The people who truly matter will respect your authenticity, and the rest will fade into background noise. You must also understand that judgment says more about others than it does about you. People criticize from their own insecurities, fears, and experiences. When someone judges you harshly, it's often a reflection of what they lack or struggle with. If you take every comment personally, you'll spend your life trying to fix perceptions that were never about you in the first place. The truth is, no one sees the world exactly as you do. Their opinions come from their own lens, not from your reality. To stay unbothered, you must learn how to create inner space. Inner space means not letting every external event occupy your mind. Every time you carry someone else's negativity, you crowd your thoughts. Instead, practice letting go quickly. If something bothers you, ask yourself, will this matter in a week, a month, a year? Most of the time, it won't. That realization helps you release it faster. You'll notice that the things that once consumed you start losing their power. Another powerful mindset is focusing on what you can control. You can control your effort, your attitude, and your actions, but not people's opinions. If you do your best with honesty and consistency, that's enough. The rest is out of your hand. When you start focusing on your lane, the noise around you begins to fade. Your mental energy shifts from worrying to working, and as you grow, the noise becomes less relevant because you start seeing results. You also need to build emotional boundaries. These boundaries aren't walls, they're filters. They help you decide what to let in and what to block out. For example, you can listen to feedback from someone you respect, but you can ignore negativity from someone who hasn't earned your attention. Not every voice deserves access to your mind. Be selective with what you internalize. Your mental health depends on it. Being unbothered also requires practice in detachment. Detachment doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you stop clinging. You stop attaching your peace to outcomes, approval, or situations you can't control. When something goes wrong, instead of saying, "Why me?" you say, "What now?" That small shift turns frustration into focus. It reminds you that peace isn't the absence of problems, it's the presence of calm within them. To strengthen this mindset, spend time alone regularly. Solitude builds mental strength. When you're alone, you can hear your thoughts clearly. You learn to enjoy your own company. You stop needing constant validation or distraction. The more comfortable you become with yourself, the less external noise can disturb you. Quiet time is not wasted time. It's where emotional stability grows. Avoid comparing yourself to others. Comparison fuels insecurity and restlessness. Social media makes it easy to feel behind. But remember, people only show highlights, not the full story. You can't measure your worth using someone else's timeline. Your journey is your own. When you focus on your progress instead of competition, you reclaim your peace. The only person you should try to be better than is who you were yesterday. Another tool for staying unbothered is mindfulness. Mindfulness keeps your attention in the present moment. Most worry comes from the past or the future, from replaying what's already done or predicting what hasn't happened. When you stay present, judgment loses its grip. You stop overthinking how you look, what others think, or what could go wrong. You start living in what's actually happening. This clarity brings peace, because the present is usually simpler than the stories we create about it. Train yourself to respond, not react. Reactions come from emotion. Responses come from understanding. When you react, you give control away. When you respond, you stay in charge. You can disagree without anger. You can correct someone without aggression. You can stand your ground without hostility. That balance between strength and calm is what true mental mastery looks like. It's also important to be kind to yourself. Inner criticism can be louder than outer judgment. Many people worry about what others think because they already judge themselves harshly. They're seeking external approval to cover internal doubt. The solution is to build self-compassion. When you treat yourself with patience and understanding, outside criticism loses its sting. You realize that mistakes don't define you. Growth does. Don't try to fight every rumor or misunderstanding. The more you try to explain yourself, the more energy you waste. Time always reveals truth. The best response to false judgment is to keep living with integrity. People eventually notice patterns. They see who's genuine and who's not. Silence and consistency are stronger than arguments. Building a calm mind also involves caring for your body. Physical health affects emotional stability. Exercise, rest, and nutrition all impact how you handle stress. When your body feels strong, your mind becomes clearer. You're less reactive, more patient, and better equipped to deal with negativity. Taking care of yourself is not selfish, it's necessary for peace. Avoid environments that thrive on chaos. If your surroundings are filled with drama and negativity, it's hard to stay calm. Choose people who bring stability, not constant noise. Surround yourself with those who value growth, honesty, and peace. Energy is contagious. If you stay around people who are always restless, you'll absorb it. Protect your circle like you protect your peace. Another powerful practice is perspective. When you face judgment, ask yourself what it's teaching you. Every challenge reveals something about your inner strength. Instead of getting defensive, look for the lesson. Maybe it's teaching you patience, resilience, or clarity. When you see every situation as an opportunity to grow, judgment stops being a threat. It becomes training for your mind. You'll know you've mastered being unbothered when you stop needing to prove anything. You stop explaining your choices, your path, or your pace. You simply live it. People might misunderstand you, and that's fine. You're not here to be understood by everyone. You're here to be true to yourself. That inner freedom is what makes you magnetic. A calm, focused person is impossible to shake. When others criticize, you listen if it's useful and ignore it if it's not. When chaos happens around you, you stay composed. You don't match other people's emotions. You guide them back to calm through your steadiness. That's real influence. You become a source of peace instead of noise. Being unbothered doesn't mean you stop caring about life. It means you care wisely. You stop wasting emotional energy on things that drain you and start investing it where it matters. You choose your battles. You protect your attention. You keep your focus on what builds you, not what breaks you. That discipline gives you peace that no one can take. Over time, this mindset becomes second nature. What once triggered you will start to feel small. You'll find yourself smiling instead of reacting. You'll walk away from negativity instead of arguing. you'll realize that peace is not about having a quiet world. It's about building a quiet mind. The outside world doesn't have to change. Your response to it does. When you train your mind to stay unbothered by noise and judgment, you become untouchable in the best way. The world will still be loud. People will still talk, and challenges will still come. But your center will stay still. That stillness becomes your strength. You stop being moved by every opinion because you're guided by your own clarity. You start to understand that peace is not a destination. It's a daily choice. And once you master that, you'll never give your power away again.
Chapter 6. Invest in personal growth so your silence carries depth. There is something extraordinary about a person whose silence feels full, not empty. You can sit next to them and sense wisdom, calm and clarity even before they speak. That kind of silence isn't born from shyness or distance. It's born from personal growth. It's the silence of someone who has worked on themselves, reflected deeply, and learned through experience. When your silence carries depth, it's because your mind and heart have been shaped by growth, learning and understanding. You don't need to speak loudly because everything about you quietly shows strength, wisdom and peace. Investing in personal growth is one of the greatest commitments you can make. It's a promise to yourself that you will not stay the same. Growth isn't just about reading books or achieving goals. It's about transforming your thinking, your habits, and your emotional responses. It's about constantly becoming more self-aware and more capable of handling life with grace. Every new skill you learn, every challenge you face, every moment you reflect, it all adds weight to your silence. When you start investing in personal growth, you begin to notice how your mind used to react. You realize how often you acted out of fear, insecurity, or ego. Growth gives you emotional maturity. It teaches you to pause before reacting, to understand before judging, and to listen before speaking. You no longer feel the need to prove yourself because your focus shifts inward. You start to ask, how can I be better, instead of how can I look better? That shift in attention changes your entire energy. Personal growth makes your silence meaningful because it gives you inner substance. When you're learning, reflecting, and improving daily, your presence starts to speak for itself. People can feel it in your tone, in your choices, in your patience. You don't need to tell people what you're working on. They see it in how you handle yourself. They sense that you've gone through things, learned from them, and come out wiser. That's the kind of silent confidence that leaves an impression. To truly invest in growth, you must be honest with yourself. You can't grow from pretending you're fine. You grow by facing your flaws with courage. Ask yourself where you've been avoiding responsibility. Where do you fall short? What habits keep holding you back? Growth begins where honesty starts. It's not easy, but it's necessary. Real self-improvement comes from awareness, not denial. Growth also requires humility. You have to accept that you don't know everything and that learning never ends. When you're humble enough to keep learning, you open the door to constant improvement. You listen more, observe more, and absorb lessons from every experience. Every conversation, failure, and success becomes a classroom. That mindset creates a quiet confidence, the kind that doesn't need validation because it's built on self-awareness and wisdom. Investing in personal growth also means surrounding yourself with people who challenge you, not just comfort you. Growth doesn't happen in circles where everyone agrees.
It happens when you meet people who inspire you to think differently, who question your habits, who push you to aim higher. Seek out mentors, books, and experiences that expand your perspective. Each time you learn from someone wiser, you add more depth to your silence. Another part of growth is learning to let go of grudges, pride, and unnecessary attachments. Holding on to old pain keeps you heavy. You can't carry growth and resentment at the same time. When you release what no longer serves you, you make space for new energy. Your silence becomes peaceful instead of bitter. It's the kind of silence that doesn't need to defend itself because it's already free. Personal growth also teaches patience. You learn that transformation takes time. You can't rush the process of becoming your best self. There will be seasons of progress and seasons of struggle. Both are valuable. The difficult moments teach resilience, and the quiet ones teach reflection. Every season contributes to your depth. Over time, you stop expecting instant results and start trusting gradual change. You begin to understand that slow progress is still progress. The more you grow, the more comfortable you become with solitude. Growth requires space. Space to think, to feel, to reset. Silence becomes a place where you recharge instead of something you avoid. You start enjoying your own company because you've made peace with yourself. You no longer need constant distractions or validation to feel fulfilled. That peace radiates outward and makes your presence magnetic. Investing in growth also means developing emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence helps you read situations without reacting blindly. It allows you to see beyond words and understand emotions, both yours and others. You start responding to life with empathy instead of anger, with understanding instead of judgment. That kind of control and awareness gives your silence weight. People feel safer around you because your energy feels calm and composed. You can't have depth without curiosity. Curiosity keeps your mind alive. It drives you to ask questions, explore new ideas, and see the world through fresh eyes. Every time you learn something new, you expand your understanding of life. You stop living on autopilot and start engaging with the world intentionally. You begin to find lessons in everyday moments. In a conversation, a failure, a walk, a book. Curiosity keeps your silence rich because it's filled with discovery, not emptiness. Growth also involves forgiving yourself for past mistakes. You can't grow if you're trapped in guilt. Learn from your errors, but don't live in them. Every mistake carries a lesson that can make you wiser. Forgive yourself, but hold yourself accountable. Move forward with awareness, not regret. When you can forgive yourself, you stop needing to prove perfection. You start valuing progress instead. That humility adds warmth to your silence. It makes you human, approachable, real. Investing in personal growth means choosing responsibility over excuses. It's easy to blame others for your problems, but that keeps you stuck. Growth happens when you say, "It's on me to change." That mindset gives you power. You stop waiting for circumstances to improve and start creating improvement yourself. Each time you take responsibility, your character strengthens. You build inner authority, and that authority gives your silence confidence. As you grow, your communication changes too. You stop wasting words on arguments and meaningless talk. You start speaking with clarity and intention. Your words become fewer, but they carry substance. People listen differently when they know your silence is backed by understanding. Growth refines your speech because you no longer speak from impulse. You speak from insight. Personal growth also makes you more compassionate. The more you understand yourself, the more you understand others. You stop judging quickly because you've seen how complex people. You realize everyone is fighting unseen battles. That empathy gives your silence kindness. You don't need to preach or prove. Your presence alone offers comfort. People trust those who have walked through pain and still choose peace. Another part of growth is self-discipline. Growth without discipline is temporary. You have to show up for yourself, even when it's uncomfortable. Read when you'd rather scroll. Reflect when you'd rather distract yourself. Choose action when you feel lazy. Every disciplined choice builds strength. Discipline isn't punishment. It's proof that you respect your potential. Over time, your consistency builds quiet power. When you invest in personal growth, your focus shifts from impressing others to mastering yourself. You stop trying to be seen and start trying to be solid. The world begins to notice, not because you demand attention, but because you stand out through your stability. People can feel when someone has done the work. It shows in the way you move, think, and interact. You become a calm, reliable presence in a noisy world. Your silence becomes deep when it carries lessons, reflections, and truth. You can sit quietly and still say a lot without words. That's because growth has filled your inner world with meaning. You've experienced pain but turned it into wisdom. You've faced fear but turned it into courage. You've met failure but turned it into growth. All of those transformations sit quietly inside you, shaping your energy. You'll notice that as you grow, you become less reactive and more intentional. You stop rushing to answer every question or respond to every opinion. You've learned that silence can communicate confidence. When you pause before speaking, you show thought. When you choose not to react, you show control. When you speak only when it matters, your words gain authority. That's the kind of depth that can't be faked. Investing in personal growth also means creating habits that nourish your mind. Read daily, write your thoughts, set goals and track your progress. Feed your curiosity, reflect on your experiences. Every bit of learning adds another layer to your understanding of life. You become someone whose silence reflects awareness, not ignorance, peace, not emptiness, strength, not avoidance. Growth never ends. There's always another lesson waiting. The more you learn, the more you realize how much there is to learn. That realization keeps you humble. It keeps your silence thoughtful instead of prideful. You don't need to dominate conversations because you're more interested in understanding than improving. People who have grown deeply don't seek to impress. They seek to connect. When you invest in yourself, you create a foundation that can't be shaken. You stop being easily influenced by trends, opinions, or external chaos. You live with clarity. You choose your words carefully, act intentionally, and carry yourself with quiet purpose. That's what makes your silence powerful. It's not the absence of words, but the presence of depth. The more you grow, the more peaceful you become. You realize that life isn't about being perfect. It's about being aware, adaptable, and honest. You accept change. You appreciate small progress. You find beauty in simplicity. You no longer rush through life. You engage with it fully. That's when your silence starts to speak. It tells the story of someone who has learned, evolved, and found peace within themselves. When you reach that level, people feel something different when they're around you. They can't always explain it, but they feel calmer, clearer, more centered. That's the energy of someone whose silence carries depth. It's the quiet strength of a person who has done the inner work. So keep growing, keep learning, keep evolving, because every bit of effort you put into your growth makes your silence stronger, your presence deeper, and your life more meaningful.
Chapter 7. Practice emotional maturity that earns quiet respect from everyone. Emotional maturity is one of the clearest signs of real strength. It's what separates people who react from those who respond, people who argue from those who understand, and people who chase attention from those who earn quiet respect. When you practice emotional maturity, you move through life with steadiness. You stop being pulled in every direction by mood, anger, or ego. You start handling situations with calm logic and thoughtful control. People notice that. They feel safe around it. They respect it. Emotional maturity begins with self-control. It's not about suppressing emotions, but learning how to manage them wisely. Everyone feels frustration, jealousy, sadness, or fear, but maturity means not letting those emotions decide your behavior. It means pausing before reacting, thinking before speaking, and choosing peace over impulse. That control doesn't come overnight. It comes from awareness, discipline, and patience. When you learn to control yourself, you automatically gain influence, because people can trust you to stay composed even in pressure. One of the strongest forms of emotional maturity is accountability. Immature people blame everyone else when things go wrong. They point fingers, make excuses, and avoid responsibility. But mature people look inward first. They ask, "What part did I play in this?" They understand that growth only happens when you take ownership of your actions. The moment you stop blaming others, you take back your power. Responsibility builds credibility. It shows you're grounded enough to learn from your mistakes instead of hiding behind pride. Maturity also shows in how you handle disagreements. You don't need to win every argument. You don't need to shout to be heard. Emotionally mature people know that listening is more powerful than proving. They listen to understand, not to defend. They can disagree without hostility because their goal is clarity, not victory. When you handle conflict with calmness, people naturally respect you even if they don't agree with you. They remember your composure long after they forget the details of the argument. Another sign of maturity is not letting emotions from one area of your life spill into another. Many people bring stress from work into their relationships, or carry personal frustrations into their decisions. Emotional maturity means knowing how to separate situations and deal with them individually. You learn to process feelings privately instead of projecting them onto others. That balance makes you dependable, because people know your reactions aren't random, they're thoughtful. Emotional maturity also means being aware of timing. You learn when to speak and when to stay silent. Not every situation needs an immediate response. Sometimes the best reaction is none at all. When you wait until emotions settle, your words become clearer and more effective. Silence used with intention is a form of emotional intelligence. It's the space between reaction and response where wisdom grows. Another key part of emotional maturity is empathy. Empathy doesn't mean agreeing with everyone. It means understanding where others are coming from. You realize that people's behavior often reflects their pain, not their character. You stop taking everything personally because you see beyond the surface. This understanding doesn't make you weak. It makes you compassionate without being naive. You start to meet others with calmness instead of judgment, and that calmness earns quiet respect. A mature person knows that emotional balance requires boundaries. Boundaries aren't about cutting people off, they're about protecting your peace. You learn when to say no, when to step back, and when to let go. You stop overextending yourself,
for those who don't appreciate it. You stop trying to fix people who don't want change. Boundaries show self-respect, and self-respect attracts respect from others. When you value your peace, people learn to value it too. Another sign of maturity is emotional independence. You stop depending on others to make you feel worthy, happy, or whole. You learn to meet your own emotional needs. You enjoy love and connection, but you don't depend on them for identity. You can be alone without feeling lonely. You can handle rejection without losing confidence. This balance makes you powerful because you're not easily shaken by others' approval or disapproval. You become your own source of validation. Emotional maturity also involves forgiveness. Holding grudges weighs you down. It keeps your heart bitter and your mind restless. Forgiveness doesn't excuse what happened. It frees you from the anger that keeps you stuck. When you forgive, you reclaim your peace. Mature people know that forgiveness isn't a sign of weakness. It's a sign of emotional freedom. It takes strength to move forward without carrying resentment. A mature person also learns to control their ego. The ego wants to be right, to be praised, to be seen, but maturity understands that ego-driven decisions only lead to regret. When you let go of the need to impress, you start acting from authenticity. You stop competing and start improving. You stop demanding respect and start earning it through humility. People are drawn to quiet confidence because it feels real. Ego shouts. Maturity listens. You can recognize maturity in how someone reacts to failure. Immature people blame others or quit when things get hard. Mature people reflect, learn, and try again. They don't let failure define them. They let it refine them. They know that setbacks are part of growth, not proof of weakness. When you face failure with patience and composure, you show the kind of strength that inspires others. It tells people that you're not driven by emotions, you're guided by purpose. Another mark of maturity is emotional steadiness during success. It's easy to stay grounded when things are hard, but true growth is staying humble when things go well. Maturity means celebrating achievements without arrogance. It's understanding that success doesn't make you superior, just grateful. When you carry gratitude instead of pride, people naturally admire your character. Practicing emotional maturity also means learning when to walk away. Not every battle is worth fighting. Not every person is worth convincing, and not every situation deserves your peace. You start choosing your responses based on wisdom, not ego. Walking away doesn't mean giving up. It means knowing your energy is too valuable for chaos. That quiet strength commands respect, because it shows you value peace over proving a point. Mature people also master emotional honesty. They can express how they feel without blaming or attacking. They say, "I felt hurt when that happened," instead of shouting or withdrawing. Emotional maturity turns confrontation into communication. You don't hide behind silence or explode in anger. You speak clearly and calmly, creating understanding instead of distance. That honesty deepens relationships and builds trust. Growth in maturity also teaches patience. You stop expecting instant understanding from others. You realize that people grow at different paces. You allow space for others to learn without judging them harshly. This patience doesn't mean tolerating disrespect. It means having the wisdom to respond with calm instead of frustration. When people see that you can stay patient under pressure, they see true character. Emotional maturity is also about self-respect. You don't chase people who take you for granted. You don't beg for attention or force connections. You invest your energy in places where it's valued. That quiet self-respect speaks louder than any demand. When people see that you carry yourself with dignity, they start treating you with the same level of respect. Being emotionally mature doesn't mean you never feel pain. It means you know how to handle it. You let yourself feel emotions without letting them control you. You process them in healthy ways, through reflection, through calm conversations, through time. You don't numb or deny them. You use them to understand yourself better. That level of awareness creates emotional depth, and depth creates presence. Maturity also means being grounded in reality. You stop expecting perfection from yourself or others. You accept that life includes disappointment, misunderstandings, and change. When you stop resisting reality, you gain peace. You stop demanding that things always go your way, and start working with what you have. Acceptance doesn't mean settling. It means understanding that peace exists, even when life isn't perfect. One of the clearest signs of maturity is consistency. Anyone can be calm once, kind once, respectful once, but maturity is shown through steady behavior, especially when it's hard. When you can stay polite under pressure, calm in chaos, and kind in disagreement, you show emotional mastery. People remember consistency because it builds trust, and trust earns quiet respect. When you practice emotional maturity, your presence changes. You speak less but say more. You handle conflict with grace. You forgive quickly. You walk away from drama. You express truth without hostility. You show care without neediness. You don't chase validation. You radiate confidence. That balance of strength and gentleness becomes magnetic. The beauty of emotional maturity is that it's learned through experience. Every hardship teaches patience. Every mistake teaches awareness. Every challenge tests your control. Each time you handle life with calm and clarity, you grow stronger inside. Over time you stop reacting to the world and start leading yourself through it. People will begin to notice your steadiness. They'll see that you don't lose control easily, that your emotions don't dictate your actions, and that your peace can't be easily disturbed. They'll start coming to you for guidance, for comfort, for advice. Not because you speak the loudest, but because you understand the most. Quiet respect comes naturally to those who live with emotional depth. When you reach this level of maturity, you realize that the real goal isn't to control others, it's to master yourself. You understand that your emotions are powerful tools, not enemies. You start using them to build connection, to grow and to inspire. You stop being driven by reaction and start living with intention. That's what emotional maturity does. It gives you freedom. Freedom from anger that controls you, from fear that limits you, from judgment that distracts you. You start living from peace instead of pressure. You stop needing to prove strength because you live it. Your quiet confidence becomes your language. Your calm becomes your presence, and your emotional maturity becomes the reason everyone around you respects you, without you ever asking them to.
Chapter 8. Stay disciplined in private, so confidence feels effortless in public. Confidence that looks natural in public is built in private when no one is watching. The quiet hours, the early mornings, the small consistent choices, that's where real confidence is created. Most people want to appear confident, but they skip the process that produces it. They chase the feeling without doing the work. But confidence isn't a performance, it's a byproduct of preparation, discipline, and commitment to your own standards. When you stay disciplined in private, confidence becomes effortless in public because it's backed by truth. You don't have to fake it when you've earned it. Discipline is the bridge between who you are and who you want to become. It's what turns intention into identity. You can tell yourself you want growth, success, or respect. But unless your daily habits match those goals, nothing changes.
The people who walk with quiet assurance are the ones who kept promises to themselves when no one was there to notice. They built a reputation in their own mind first. When they speak, there's certainty in their voice, not because they're arrogant, but because they've done the work. Private discipline starts with structure. You can't live randomly and expect consistent results. You need order in your day, whether it's your morning routine, your study time, your workouts, or your reflection period. Discipline thrives in predictability. When you stick to routines, you send a message to your mind that you're in charge. You stop being a follower of emotions and become a leader of your time. That self-respect becomes the foundation of confidence. You trust yourself because you've proven that you follow through. Most people fail to build discipline because they wait for motivation. But motivation is unreliable. It comes and goes. Discipline doesn't ask how you feel, it asks what you've committed to. The strongest version of you is the one that acts even when you don't feel like it. Each time you do that, you strengthen your willpower, you train your brain to push through resistance. That quiet persistence builds mental toughness, and toughness shows up as calm confidence when you face challenges publicly. When you're disciplined, you stop living for applause. You stop needing recognition because your satisfaction comes from knowing you did the right thing, even if no one saw it. Discipline gives you a private pride that can't be shaken by outside opinions. You feel strong not because someone praised you, but because you're consistent with your value. This kind of inner strength is what makes confidence feel natural. It's not based on how people see you, it's based on how you see yourself. To build private discipline, start small. Set simple rules for yourself. Rules that build self-control and focus. Wake up at a certain time and stick to it. Keep your space clean. Eat with awareness. Complete your daily goals before you relax. These may sound ordinary, but they form the roots of extraordinary strength. Every act of self-control strengthens your mental muscle. You become more reliable in your own eyes, and that reliability becomes your confidence. Discipline also means doing the right thing when it's not exciting. Growth isn't always dramatic. Often it's repetitive. The same exercises, the same study sessions, the same habits, done every day until they become part of who you are. Many people get bored and quit because they want instant results. But confidence grows through consistency, not shortcuts. The more time you spend mastering the basics, the more naturally excellence becomes part of your character. Private discipline also requires honesty. You can't lie to yourself and grow at the same time. When you skip a task, admit it. When you fall short, acknowledge it. Excuses weaken your trust in yourself. Accountability strengthens it. Growth begins the moment you take responsibility for your effort. The mirror becomes your teacher. You stop waiting for someone to push you and start holding yourself accountable. That self-honesty creates clarity, and clarity builds confidence. Another aspect of discipline is self-respect through effort. When you work hard for something, you value it more. You appreciate your progress because you know what it cost. That respect translates into your presence. People can feel when you've earned your confidence. It's quiet, firm, and grounded. You don't need to convince anyone of your worth. Your discipline already speaks for you. Private effort builds public peace. When you've trained, studied, or practiced in solitude, you don't panic under pressure. You've already faced challenges behind the scenes. The stage doesn't scare you because it's not the first time you've done the work. It's just the first time others are seeing it. Confidence feels effortless when it's built on preparation. That's why disciplined people don't need to boast. They've built enough certainty in private that performance becomes second nature. Discipline also teaches you emotional control. When you build habits, you learn patience. You learn how to handle discomfort without giving up. You learn to stay steady when things get tough. That composure shows up everywhere in conversations, in leadership, in relationships. People trust disciplined individuals because they see stability in them. They know you won't fall apart at the first sign of pressure. That quiet steadiness is far more attractive than loud confidence. Private discipline is also about saying no. No to distractions, temptations, and wasted time. Every yes must mean something. Every no must protect your focus. The ability to delay gratification is one of the strongest traits you can develop. It means you're willing to sacrifice comfort now for strength later. Every time you resist the easy path, you remind yourself that your future matters more than your impulses. That's where confidence is born, in the quiet moments of self-respect. You can't hide from discipline. Your habits always reveal themselves. They show up in your body, your work, your mindset, and your results. You can talk about goals all you want, but if your habits don't support them, the truth will always come out. The person who practices in silence eventually looks effortless, because the preparation was real. When you've done the work repeatedly, what feels difficult to others becomes natural to you. Discipline in private also builds humility. It teaches you that results take time and effort. You stop expecting instant recognition and start valuing the process itself. You learn to work quietly, improve quietly, and celebrate progress privately. That humility makes your confidence more genuine. It's not inflated by praise. It's grounded in self-awareness. You're not trying to prove anything. You're just showing up for yourself every day. One of the biggest benefits of discipline is mental freedom. When you have structure, you don't waste energy on indecision. You don't wake up wondering what to do. You already know. That order reduces chaos and gives you peace. A disciplined mind is clear, focused, and calm. You stop chasing motivation because you've built momentum. You don't depend on perfect circumstances. You create them through routine. That reliability in your daily actions gives you confidence that no situation can take away. Staying disciplined also requires managing your environment. You can't grow in a space that constantly tempts you to drift off track. Create surroundings that support your habit. Keep your workspace organized. Distance yourself from people who waste time or drain your energy. Surround yourself with those who challenge you to stay consistent. Discipline isn't just about effort. It's about creating systems that make progress easy. Another secret of disciplined people is that they don't look for validation. They're too busy improving. They don't announce their plans. They show results. They don't talk about what they're going to do. They quietly do it. That focus on action over words builds credibility. When you stop performing for approval, you start performing for growth. That mindset creates quiet strength that others feel but can't always define. When you're disciplined, failure doesn't scare you. You've learned to view mistakes as feedback. Instead of quitting, you adjust. Instead of complaining, you analyze. Each setback becomes part of your training. This resilience builds a quiet kind of confidence that can't be shaken by temporary struggles. You know that as long as you keep working, you're still winning. Discipline also builds self-trust. Every time you follow through on a promise to yourself, you strengthen belief in your ability to deliver. You start trusting your own word. That trust is what makes confidence look effortless, because it's not dependent on external validation. It's an agreement between you and yourself. People who lack discipline often doubt themselves because they've broken their own promises too many times. Rebuild that trust by doing exactly what you say you will, even when no one is watching. Private discipline creates quiet pride, not the kind that needs to show off, but the kind that feels peaceful. You know who you are. You know what you've built. You don't need to shout about it. You can walk into any room, knowing you've earned your place. That comfort within yourself shows up in your posture, your tone, your presence. Others sense it immediately. You can't fake that kind of assurance. It's too deeply rooted. True confidence comes from preparation, meeting consistency. When you've rehearsed, studied, practiced, or trained long enough, your performance feels easy, because it's a reflection of habit, not luck. What looks natural in public is the result of hours of invisible effort. That's why the disciplined seem calm under pressure. They've been there before in private. Their effort has made them immune to panic. Discipline also teaches you respect for time, for energy, for growth. You start valuing every moment because you know how much work it takes to improve. You no longer waste hours on meaningless things. You understand that how you spend your time is how you shape your future. Every disciplined day becomes an investment, and over time, those investments compound into mastery. When you stay disciplined in private, people feel your confidence even before you speak. It's not loud or forced. It's natural. You don't have to convince anyone that you're capable. Your presence does it for you. That's the beauty of inner discipline. It eliminates the need to prove. The work has already proven it. Confidence built through discipline is calm, not loud. It doesn't seek attention. It commands it through consistency. When you know you've earned your success, you don't need to exaggerate. You don't need to pretend. You can simply be. People trust you because your confidence feels genuine, not performed. The truth is, you can't cheat discipline. There are no shortcuts, but the reward is worth every effort. You get to live with peace, pride, and stability. You move with certainty because you know what you've built. That's the kind of confidence that lasts. Confidence born from discipline, not desire. So if you want your presence to feel powerful without trying, start with what you do when no one's watching. Train your mind, your body, your habits, and your focus. Show up for yourself every day. Do the work quietly, consistently, and with intention. In time you'll notice something change. You won't need to chase confidence anymore. It will walk beside you naturally, because your private discipline has already made you strong enough to carry it.
Chapter 9. Observe people closely to understand what truly earns attraction. Attraction isn't random. It's not about looks, wealth, or charm alone. It's about energy, behavior, and awareness. When you start observing people closely, not to judge them, but to understand what truly draws others in, you begin to see patterns. You realize attraction is rarely about what someone says. It's about how they make others feel. It's about the small, quiet things, the calm in their tone, the respect in their gestures, the attention in their eyes. Understanding this changes the way you carry yourself, because you stop chasing attention and start studying what genuinely earns it. When you observe people carefully, you start noticing that the most attractive individuals don't try to impress anyone. They simply live in a way that reflects peace, confidence, and purpose. They're grounded. Their energy feels safe and certain. You can see that they've built their life on values, not validation. They don't dominate conversations or show off. They listen, they smile, they engage with sincerity. Their attractiveness comes from presence, not performance. Watch people in different situations, the way they speak when they're relaxed versus when they're uncomfortable. Notice the difference between confidence and arrogance. Confidence is quiet and warm. Arrogance is loud and cold.
Confident people don't need to prove anything. They don't use words to compete. Their self-assurance shows in their body language, steady eye contact, calm posture, unhurried movements. They make others feel respected, not small. Once you see this difference, you understand why quiet confidence attracts everyone, while arrogance pushes people away. Attraction is deeply tied to authenticity. When someone is real, you feel it. You trust it. Authentic people don't pretend. They don't change depending on who's watching. They're the same person whether they're in a crowd or alone. That consistency creates trust, and trust is magnetic. You can feel when someone is being genuine because they're fully present. They're not performing, they're connecting. You'll notice that the people everyone seems drawn to are often the most authentic ones in the room. Pay attention to how people listen. It's one of the strongest signals of social intelligence. The ones who listen carefully, who make eye contact without rushing, who don't interrupt, those are the people everyone feels safe around. Being listened to is rare, and that rarity makes it powerful. When you make someone feel heard, they associate you with comfort and respect. That's real attraction. It's emotional, not superficial. Another thing you'll observe is that attractive people don't chase approval. They contribute value instead. They bring calmness, humor, or encouragement to every interaction. They don't try to take energy, they give it. They don't force connection. They create it naturally through warmth and understanding. When you meet people like this, you feel lighter, not drained. You leave their presence feeling good about yourself. That's the secret. Most attraction isn't about making others look at you. It's about making others feel seen. If you observe closely, you'll see that the people who constantly seek validation lose their charm quickly. They talk too much about themselves, exaggerate stories, or compete for attention. For a moment, they might seem interesting, but their energy soon feels exhausting. In contrast, people who are secure within themselves don't need to take up all the space. They're comfortable letting others shine. Their confidence doesn't depend on spotlight. It exists in silence. That kind of energy feels refreshing, and it's what people remember long after the conversation ends. You'll also notice how attractive people handle stress or conflict. They don't panic. They don't turn defensive or dramatic. They respond calmly, even when things get tense. That control earns respect, because it shows emotional strength. Everyone feels safer around someone who stays balanced. When others lose composure, the one who stays steady stands out naturally. Calmness in chaos is one of the most underrated forms of attractiveness. Look at how people treat those who can't benefit them. The truly attractive ones show kindness without conditions. They're polite to waiters, patient with elders, and considerate with strangers. Their respect doesn't depend on status. It's part of who they are. People sense that sincerity. You can't fake it for long. Real kindness carries weight, and it's often what makes someone unforgettable. Another thing you'll see is that the most magnetic individuals live with purpose. They know what they're doing and why they're doing it. They wake up with direction. Their focus gives them energy that draws others in. You don't have to understand their purpose to feel it. You can sense it in how they move, speak, and make decisions. Purpose gives people a quiet confidence that's impossible to fake. It's one of the strongest forms of attraction, because it communicates that someone is living with intention, not drifting. Observe how people carry themselves physically. Body language tells more truth than words ever could. When someone walks upright, with relaxed shoulders and open gestures, they appear secure and approachable. When they slouch, fidget, or avoid eye contact, they seem uncertain. You don't need perfect posture to appear confident, but you do need awareness. How you move tells others how you feel about yourself. If you want your presence to attract, start with how you carry your energy. Pay attention to people's tone of voice. The ones who speak clearly, slowly, and calmly tend to command attention without trying. A steady tone communicates confidence and control. People who rush or speak too loudly often seem nervous or uncertain. When you master your tone, your words carry weight even if you say little. It's one of those subtle details that create instant respect. You'll also notice that the most attractive people aren't always the loudest or most outgoing. Some are quiet observers who contribute meaningfully when they speak. They don't compete for space. They wait for the right moment to add value. Their restraint makes their words powerful because people know they speak with purpose. Silence, when used intentionally, can be more magnetic than constant chatter. If you watch closely, you'll see that attractive people rarely complain. They don't drain conversations with negativity. Instead, they focus on solutions. Their energy feels constructive. They don't gossip or put others down to feel superior. They build others up. That positivity is contagious, and people naturally want to be around it. You can feel when someone's energy lifts a room instead of weighing it down. Attraction is also about awareness. The most magnetic people are observant. They notice the small things. They remember names, details, and emotions. They notice when someone's mood shifts. They can sense tension before it's spoken. That emotional awareness makes them incredibly in tune with others. When someone feels